So do we,
what I would like to do, I really think we should find a way to get on some site and just continue it. We don't want to re-advertise. We don't have time to re-advertise.
Okay, I have an update. It's definitely, there's an issue going on right now with our city account. We are on YouTube Live.
Good.
I am able to stream. I just can't do it to the Lake Worth account right now.
So how would they know we're there?
Well, we're still going to be, just like I've said it all the time, lakeworthbeachfl.gov/watch, which is what we advertise. We do not tell people to go to YouTube.
I've heard that.
Okay.
We send them to something called virtual meetings. I'm looking at the advertisement that we.
Absolutely. And when you go to virtual meetings, what do you click next?
I don't know. What do we click next?
Hey, Pam and William, it's
Okay, then we're going live. 1 second.
Good.
okay, and I will advertise it on social media.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. That's what I was going to ask next.
Baby. You couldn't solve us, but thank you.
And I'll just swing by to pick up the stuff tomorrow.
It's fine.
Tell me when, Keith.
You are live on the website.
Okay, can you make me a video, please? So I'll call the, let me
You can
call
start
the,
your video.
you have a quorum? No, it says my host has stopped it. It's okay. Mr. Chairman, it is 6:34 and you have a quorum.
Thank you very much, Sherry. Sherry, would you like to do the roll call, and we will do it one at a time, please?
Sure. Greg?
Here.
Anthony?
Here.
Daniel Tanner?
Here.
Brock Grill?
Here.
Mark Hom?
Here.
Laura Starr?
Here.
Michael Glazer?
Here.
You're all set, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Sherry. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the, excuse me. Welcome to the Wednesday night, May 27th, 2020 Tech Talk and Lake Worth Planning and Zoning Board meeting. Do we have any additions, deletions, recording, or approvals of the agenda? No,
Mr. Chair.
staff? Okay, thank you very much. We have no minutes from the last meeting, so we'll skip that. And we'll go straight to cases. Excuse me, Sherry, you want to swear in staff and applicants? Anybody's going to testify tonight before this body?
Keith, are you able to bring over, I'm gonna say Jeff Burns?
It may
I'm not-
be all of them because they all may be answering questions.
Okay, yes. If you can bring bring the attendees over that plan on speaking and answering questions.
And Keith, could you make Andrew a co-host when you get the chance, and he can help manage that too?
Yes. So. Okay, Andrew should be a co-host now.
Thanks. Yeah. Yeah, I swear. Thanks. I'm gonna check everything else.
Okay, are they all, I think they're all over, right?
Yep.
If everyone can turn on their cameras and their microphones, please.
Okay, my camera is not working. Camera's working, video's not. I don't know why, but at any rate.
Sure, try hitting it, turn it off and turn it on.
It's okay. Sherry doesn't need to.
You don't need to see me.
Okay,
You can see everybody. Sure.
You don't need to see me. I need to see everybody. Okay.
Exactly.
You know what? You're gonna have to close the door,
Sorry, here we go.
David.
I have.
I see you, Sherry. I see some girl driving a car too.
That's the architect.
BC, that is entirely dangerous. You need to be paying attention.
I am a multitasker. I can do it.
Oh, gosh. Busy at MSA, right? Drive
Yes,
careful.
sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so I guess I'm waiting for Rebecca, Adam. Joan, I don't know. Are you?
Sherry, because of the lateness of the hour, let's go ahead and move on and we can
Okay.
separately swear those
All right,
people
we'll
in,
swear
or
you
they'll
in
just
as
have
we
to
do
not
the
talk if we
project.
can't see them.
As you speak, then we'll swear you in.
Adam's here, sorry.
So everyone who plans to give testimony, please raise your right hand. Do you swear and affirm the testimony you will give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, say yes.
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 Okay, thank you.
There we go.
Oh, there we go.
So for some of the folks who were now able to see and who we've sworn in, we're going to go ahead and turn your video off while Alexis gives the initial presentation as soon as we get to the public hearing items. But we're ready to move on, Mr. Chairman.
thank you. Thank you very much. We have no withdrawals or postponement. I'm certainly aware of that. Are there any board disclosures? Did the board have anything? Conversations or what have you with anybody, any of their parties, affected parties, whomever? Let's go around the room. Laura, did you have any conversations or anything you want to tell us? Laura?
You're muted, Laura.
Again.
Go ahead, Laura.
Nothing.
Nothing. Danny? Danny?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Yeah, do you have any disclosures? Were you had conversations or met with any
No.
of the? Did you say no?
No.
Okay, thank you. Anthony, how about you?
No, no, I did not.
I did not either. Mark,
No, I did not.
Mr. Glazer,
I spoke with Rob Rannenbaum, the traffic engineer today briefly, and we did not go into any details on this.
okay, Brock,
No.
thank you. Okay, thank you. Let's get started then. There is no unfinished business. The Bohemian, 20-009-0, bunch of zeros, hold on here. 20-009-00001. A request by Jeffrey Burns of the Affiliated Development Corporation on behalf of the applicant. 1017. I'm sorry. the applicant won 1017 Lake Avenue LLC for consideration of a development of significant impact, mixed-use urban plan development, major site plan, conditional use permit, sustainable bonus programs, incentives and transfer of development rights, incentives to construct a TOD, a transit-oriented development, mixed-use, multifamily development within the transit-oriented development east, TOD east, the artisanal industrial AL zoning district. The subject properties are the following property control numbers, all are part. PNC 38-43-44-21-15-500-0030, PNC number 38-44-44-21-15-500-0010, and property control number 38-43-43-28-44-001-0000. Alexis, take it away.
Good evening. Thank you, Chairman. For the record, I'm Alexis Rosenberg, Senior Community Planner, and I'll be presenting new business item A. If that wasn't already a mouthful, I'm going to go over it again. So it's a consideration of a request by Jeffrey Burns of Affiliated Development on behalf of 1017 Lake Avenue LLC for consideration of a development of significant impact, mixed-use urban plan development, major site plan, conditional use permit, sustainable bonus program incentive, and a transfer of development rights incentive to construct a transit-oriented mixed-use multifamily development at 1017 Lake Avenue, 101 Southeast Coast Street, 201 Southeast Coast Street.
I love this one. I said, can I have the middle one?
Going into the site location, the site's located on the southwest corner of Lake Avenue and Southeast Coast Street. It's currently zoned transit-oriented development east and artisanal industrial, and has a future land use designation of transit-oriented development.
Are you seriously talking about throwing yourself out? I love it.
Oh, I have. Oh, honey.
As mentioned, the applicant is Jeffrey Burns of Affiliated Development on behalf of 1017 Lake Avenue LLC, and the current property owner is Gel LLC. The Bohemian is requesting the following approvals: a development of significant impact, which is required for the development with over 100 residential units. Development of significant impacts are reviewed by the City Commission, and they're reviewed against additional technical review criteria because of the size. They're also proposing a mixed-use urban plan development to construct a transit-oriented mixed-use multifamily development, a major site plan for the development of a new mixed-use building in excess of 7,500 square feet, a sustainable bonus program incentive to increase the floor area ratio to a maximum of 3.975 to grant an additional 30 units per acre, and to increase the maximum height to 7 stories, which is 82.5 feet. Sustainable bonus allows for these incentives in exchange for incorporation of sustainable design features, community-based improvements, and overall design excellence. They're also proposing a conditional use permit to establish a mixed-use master plan greater than 7,500 square feet, inclusive of a 5-story parking garage. And lastly, request of transfer development rights incentive for an additional 10 units per acre. The proposed development, which is called the Bohemian, consists of 3 main buildings. So as you can see, the site plan is the picture on the bottom, and then there's a rendering on the top left. There's 3 main buildings, which include a 3,619 square foot commercial building, a 200-unit multifamily residential building, and a 5-story parking garage. The commercial building sits to the west of the pedestrian plaza and is intended to house a general commercial or restaurant use. The residential building, which contains 200 apartment units, is proposed to the south of the commercial building and at 7 stories high. And then the parking garage is located to the south of the residential building and contains 120 public parking spaces on the first 2 floors and 247 parking spaces on the remaining floors for the residential component of the project. The applicant will be making right-of-way improvements to Southeast Coast Street, changing it to a one-way street going northbound. As you can see, the area of improvement is highlighted in green on the site plan. Additionally, the site plan will include amenities such as a fitness center, resort-style swimming pool, pool court, and that's circled in red, as well as a rideshare drop-off area, which is circled in blue. The subject site currently exists as a vacant parking lot, and the images you see on the screen are views from the east property line along Southeast Coast Street. This table outlines the future land use, zoning districts, and current uses of the properties that surround the subject site. And based on staff's analysis, the proposed mixed-use urban plan development is compatible with the surrounding uses. Going into staff's analysis, the proposal is found to be consistent with the comprehensive plan, pending the adoption of a concurrent amendment to the city's comprehensive plan to increase the density in the transit-oriented development future land use designation from a maximum of 50 dwelling units per acre to a maximum of 60 dwelling units per acre. You guys may recall that this ordinance was from last Wednesday, where it was unanimously recommended approval to City Commission. The proposal is found to be consistent with the city's strategic plan, the major thoroughfare design guidelines, the city's land development regulations, the criteria for all mixed-use urban plan development districts, the community appearance criteria, the review decision criteria for all sustainable bonus incentive programs, the general findings to harmony with the LDRs and protection of the public interest, and consistent with the specific standards for all conditional uses. And all of that criteria is outlined in the staff report as well. So just to elaborate on mixed-use urban plan developments, the creation of a mixed-use urban plan development allows for the developer to customize LDRs that are applicable to the project site, which can provide flexibility to allow more creative and attractive development in the city. So staff created a table analyzing the project's consistency with the base zoning district regulations, and the project will differ from these regulations in the following areas, which is bullet pointed on the left: minimum required setbacks, maximum impermeable surface coverage, minimum living area, maximum density, maximum signage, maximum wall height, and lighting. The applicant's justification for these deviations are in attachment C, and a summarized version is on pages 6 through 8 of the staff report. Staff recommends that the board recommend approval of the development of significant impact, mixed-use urban plan development, major site plan, conditional use permit, sustainable bonus program incentive, and a transfer of development rights incentive as conditioned to the City Commission. The conditions of approval are outlined in pages 20 to 22. And if you'd like, I can go over them because I have those slides available. Other than that, that concludes my presentation. And the applicant also has a presentation which I can bring up. And then following that, I'll be available as well as the applicant and the team for questions.
Thank you very much. Alexis, will that be Jeffrey Burns presenting for the owner?
Correct.
Okay, you want to bring that up first?
Yes, let me bring that up now.
Thank you.
And then do we have Jeffrey Burns as a panelist? Perfect. And then Jeffrey, if you could just let me know when to go to the next slide, I'll go ahead and move it forward.
All right. Will do. Can you hear me all right?
Yes. Go ahead, Jeff.
Okay. Well, I want to thank the board for hearing us today and having us present this project. We're extremely excited. And I think Alexis did a terrific job kind of summarizing the project. I think obviously, starting out, our company, Affiliated Development, is extremely bullish on the city of Lake Worth Beach. If you're familiar with our current project, the Mid, which is currently under construction on Dixie High in between 16th and 17th. We've made tremendous progress moving that along, especially during somewhat difficult times, and we're extremely excited to be able to follow up that project with the Bohemian. With that being said, it was very important to us when I guess creating a project such as the Bohemian in the downtown urban core, that we did something very different than the Mid. The Mid has bigger units. It's on a 6-acre site. It's more drivable, has a central clubhouse, all things that you would typically see on obviously larger tracts of land. The Bohemian actually is situated on a very challenging piece of property. It's very long and narrow, but it lends itself to urban infill. And that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to tailor this project to young professionals and folks that are really more interested in living in an urban environment, that a place where they can walk out their front door and frequent any one of the number of different establishments up and down Lake Avenue and within the urban core. So with that being said, you can go ahead, Alexis, and go to the next slide. So summarizing it, I think Alexis did a terrific job. So it was 200 units. So meaningful project, a terrific size. We're looking at providing 120 public parking spaces in the 5-story garage. So we'll occupy the rest, or our tenants will occupy the rest of those spaces. And then we will make 120 available to the public. We're actually in the process of finalizing a lease agreement with the city. The terms of that lease agreement have been approved by the city commission, and we're just dotting I's and crossing T's at this point. So that was an important thing to us, because we wanted to provide parking for the downtown businesses. One of the other unique aspects of this particular site is where it's located. It's in kind of a more or less an industrial area part of downtown. However, there's a tremendous opportunity, we believe, to be able to repurpose existing industrial buildings, such as Dave Matthews Brewery has been able to accomplish over there. That repurposing is done and has been done in other cities that we've invested in. Fort Lauderdale, for instance, has Fat Village, West Palm, the Grandview Market. Really being able to take really cool kind of creative approaches at repurposing these buildings. One of the biggest challenges that all these areas have is parking. And so if you're a business owner and you're looking to locate, repurpose a building for your use, a lot of these industrial buildings are not set up to park a tremendous amount of people. So that was another reason why we felt it was necessary to put this garage right here and allow for the public to be able to access it. We believe it'll help encourage additional repurposing within that area. So with that being said, the project is going to feature, luxury amenities, luxury finishes that you would expect to see in any beautiful project in any other city. This will be the first urban infill project in the city of downtown Lake Worth Beach. So we're very, very excited to be able to offer a really nice luxury product for folks, again, that want to live in a place that's convenient. Go ahead, Alexis. Next slide, please. You all know where the site is located. Now, that right there shows you how kind of narrow we are. So one of the biggest challenges, we didn't know if we could fit what we wanted to fit on this site. We actually discovered the site while we were on the Bright Line heading north from Fort Lauderdale to West Palm. And it was one of those things where we're always looking out the window, because our project, the Mid, is situated just, several blocks further north. And so we always like to take a look out and see what's going on that site. So looking out the window, and we were passing this and this huge vacant property that would be storing a lot of materials at the moment was just sitting there. And we couldn't believe, because to us, it's kind of the keyhole to the city. As you approach the downtown core, especially off of Lake Avenue, and you begin to cross the tracks right there, your first impression is a less than desirable one. So we wanted to do something there that was going to be really special and create a nice first impression. Go ahead, Alexis. We already talked about the what the site looks like obviously it's not really providing much of a public benefit or any benefit at this particular moment. Next slide, please. So this would be your view as if you're approaching the downtown core through Lake Avenue. One of the important things to us in this particular building was to make it feel like it belonged, not to stick something there that was going to look completely out of place. I think BC, our architects with MSA, and they're located down in Miami. We're working on a couple of projects with them. She did a terrific job really capturing that. We wanted to actually do a first floor, almost standalone. Well, it is not almost. It's a standalone building. One of the reasons we wanted to do that was we wanted to make the building very, very approachable from the street level, encourage walkability. We wanted to provide plenty of outdoor seating and a pedestrian plaza that would, again, encourage people to come and spend time within this area. One of the reasons why we detached it, other than to kind of set back the taller structure, was to give the option of whoever our tenant is, the option to potentially purchase the property as well. So while we would be marketing it for lease, if the right tenant came along and they said, we would like to own and make an investment in the city of Lake Worth Beach, and they would have the ability to do that, it would be much easier having it a separate standalone. One of the other things that you'll notice here is, again, kind of capturing some of the industrialness, if that's a word, of this area. We've got kind of a faux brick facade going up and down with a mural. So it was meant to kind of mimic, in a lot of these older cities, you see these buildings that were painted on, usually for purposes of advertising back in the day, and then it fades over time. We thought that would be a really cool look and kind of play to the area. And then you'll see on the very corner, actually, we have a rooftop observation deck. So that space up there is an amenity to our tenants to be able to go out on a beautiful night with a glass of wine and oversee the downtown area. It's going to have tremendous views looking east. So next slide, please. So Alexis touched on the site plan and the retail space. Obviously, retail is important for us because it brings vitality to the site. And then East Coast Street. One of the things we wanted to do is create some residential walk-up units right there to encourage, again, pedestrian activity along that area. The parking is further to the south, which provides us with a nice little buffer between the residential and the yet-to-be repurposed industrial buildings further to the south. Next slide, please. This is a view down East Coast Street as if you're sitting basically in the middle of Lake Avenue. So as you can see on the very top there, the observation deck, and we actually have since incorporated some color on some of the building elements that flow along East Coast as a recommendation from staff. So we've incorporated some color further along the sidewalk there as the building heads down East Coast Street. This gives you a good shot on what we were trying to accomplish here on the corner, to add a pedestrian element, very, very approachable. We want people to congregate there and frequent the establishment that we're going to be, putting there, whether that's bakery and coffee, hopefully some kind of restaurant active use is who we would be targeting. Next slide, please. Housing opportunities are critical for us. So we wanted to make sure that we had a, beautiful Class A housing, but that it was going to be priced, at a price point that we believe that current residents could afford. The public parking downtown, we talked about how that could help activate East Coast Street. And then economic impact. This project has the ability to create a significant amount of economic impact on the downtown businesses. On average, our renters spend roughly $30,000 a year in local spending. Our renters are becoming more and more creatures of staying within a certain proximity, and people, especially that dwell in these urban areas, prefer to walk out their front door and go to a place, a couple blocks away versus getting in their car and driving. So these are people that have disposable incomes, and obviously will hopefully be a nice boost to the local businesses that are up and down not only Lake Avenue, but within the downtown area. Next slide, please. We talked about the retail. One of the big things that was a challenge to us on the mid was, when we would go to lenders and investors and folks, was there wasn't a lot of comparables. So, a lot of these financing partners, but not only financing partners, but investors generally are less risky, and they don't want to go into areas where there's not a proven concept. This project, we're going to run into something a little bit similar, in the sense that there isn't really anything that we can point to and say, hey, this is what you can get in downtown Lake Worth Beach, and this is a product that can be successful. We have a track record for going in and being kind of the first movers in certain areas, and certainly this project will hopefully establish a comp space to make way for additional investment. So, we're talking about right on here, it says $40 million of private investment, and that's significant. And if successful, believe it will be a snowball effect into additional investment within this, with not only within this area, but within the entire downtown. Next slide, please. And that is it. So with that, again, one more thing before I turn it over for questions. The name Bohemian, we felt extremely fitting for the city of Lake Worth Beach. We've gotten to know the character, over the years here after spending a considerable amount of time, and we hope that it'll be well received. But we believe it is a fitting name for the city and for a building in the city. And thank you for your consideration. And with that, I'll stand by to hopefully answer any questions.
Just happened.
All right, I'm available for questions, as well as the applicant and their team.
Put your mic on, Greg. Got it. You got it.
Are you there?
We got you, Greg. Don't beat it to death.
Andrew, can you unmute him for him?
William, it's not working.
Okay.
Okay, there we go. There we go. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. As per our last meeting, we're gonna go down. We'll go down I'll go down the membership and start comments that way. Let everybody have the first bite at the apple, if you would, and then we will go back for individual questions. Would you ask your questions? Direct them either to Alexis, excuse me, or to Jeffrey, if you would. Does that work for everybody? Okay.
Good.
Laura, can I start with you, please? Do you have any questions for either the city's staff or the developer and applicant?
How do you intend to save 120 public parking spaces for the public as opposed to the residents in the building, with 49 two-bedroom units and 151 one-bedroom units? Typically, units have people with 2 cars. So is there some mechanism?
Laura, your mic muted again.
I have questions about the parking. It says that there's 120 spaces that will be reserved for the public, but with 49 two-bedroom units and 151 one-bedroom units, and typically people have 2 cars, that will be taking up most of the parking. So how is the parking going to be enforced to keep 120 spaces open for the public instead of the people who live in the building?
Right. So that's a good question. So so what we've done within the building is the first 2 floors of the building, and it's a 5-story structure. The first 2 floors will be dedicated entirely for the public parking, and then we will have a gate that will have a key fob or a clicker, or usually a sticker that our tenants will have that will allow access into the tenant parking on floors 3, 4, and 5. And typically, so of the 367 spaces, 247 will be for our tenants. The reason we've been able to get away with parking 247 versus maybe such as the Mid, where we have quite a bit more parking, is because we went much heavier on 1-bedrooms on this particular project. So where the Mid has a lot more 2-bedrooms, the bedrooms are a little bit bigger. Maybe the project is a little bit more conducive to families. This project is definitely going to be tailored more to folks that live independently, you know, or young couples that are living together. The 1-bedroom units that we're doing are very efficient, and so we believe that we'll have a lot more just single people living in these units and renting them. Typically, what we do, just kind of rule of thumb, is when we're in an urban environment such as this is not on Dixie Highway where, right, you know, currently there isn't a lot to walk to. This particular project is very walkable. So typically what we like to do with very walkable sites and urban projects is usually about 1.1 to 1.15 per unit for a 1-bedroom. And then for a 2-bedroom, we'll go up to 1.5. And so it's always that balance between, you don't want to overpark the building and have a bunch of spaces that are just sitting there, and you don't want to underpark it and find out that you didn't provide adequate parking. So this actually falls pretty much par for our projects that are in urban environments. Some environments, they typically encourage you to do a lot less, and sometimes you're encouraged to do a little bit more.
Is the 120 spaces paid parking? So people who access that lot, they have to pay?
That's correct. So the city will actually be enforcing that. And so, and I'm sure the city is intending on generating revenue with those spaces. So I believe so.
I would hope so.
So the city will have a parking attendant collecting money?
Ms. Starr, no, we will put in automated parking meters very similar to where at the beach. There are enforcement teams that are in the Ledger Services Department that will be used to enforce those. And those will be installed, it'll be like a kiosk type arrangement. So you pick a space, you put in your money very much like you do at the beach, and you get a ticket. We have not determined what the fees are going to be or what the projected revenue is going to be, but that's how we plan to enforce it.
Okay. Brock, I'm going to go back and forth. Brock, you have any questions right now?
Yeah, so I was looking at the landscaping, and I mean, look, the project looks great. I agree the property is not great for the city, so I'd love to see something here, but I found the landscaping kind of disappointing, frankly. It just, no shade trees, commentary on some kind of palms, some sort of weird palm tree. I don't know. I gotta find it again, sorry. Anyway, oh yeah. Phoenix Sylvester palms. I mean, I don't know. From my perspective, Lake Worth has a real issue with shade trees and sort of the amount of landscaping it does around a lot of its developments. And this is a golden opportunity for the city and for the business developer, because I'm sure they got a great deal on the property and they stand to probably do very well on this investment. So that's the thing I would bring up that I would hope the applicant might be open-minded about is perhaps doing something a little more on that front, or maybe the city could comment on this.
Thank you, Rob. Jeff, you want to go
Right.
first?
Sure. So, yeah, landscaping is definitely one of the biggest challenges that we do have on the site, given that it's so narrow. You know, one of the things that we look at is our experience, our residential experience. You know, if you're sitting, you know, either in your unit or on your balcony, right? So half of our units are going to face east and half are going to face west. West, you have obviously the railroad and everything that goes along with it, which is definitely not the most attractive visual for folks. And so actually we focused very heavily on making sure that we had very tall palms and things that were going to obstruct our views to, you know, I guess less maintained areas further west. Obviously the best views are further east. Now with regards to shade and all that was actually something we also struggled with, given that this is a very narrow site and kind of a tall building. We wanted to make sure we provided plenty of sunlight. So with the folks that are going to be situated looking further west, we wanted to provide, you know, obviously the pool area and that amenity space down on the ground floor, plenty of landscaping, but also not overdo it so that we're allowing plenty of light in, because, you know, obviously when the sun, you know, does its cycle, we want to make sure that as much natural light is entering that area as possible. With that being said, you know, we can certainly, you know, have a look at the trees that we chose along East Coast Street, and you know, and see if there's something that you know, provides a little bit more shade.
Sure.
Maybe
I'm thinking about a hedge too, like on the west side. You know, you are on the railroad track, and I know it seems like a waste of money, but you made a nice presentation showcasing how you will be a keystone property for the community and the city, and how you will, in one stroke of construction, remake the appearance of Lake Worth Beach from the train and from the Brightline. So I think it's worth thinking a little bit about this, right? I mean, in terms of, it seems maybe wasted. You mentioned high trees for sort of to block a view, but perhaps 6 or 8 foot hedges to just create a little buffer for the noise for the tenants, as well as to improve the appearance on the train side, might be something to think about. I don't know what the rest of the panel thinks, but it's something that crossed my mind.
Thank you, Brock.
And Adam, actually with Environment Design Group, with the landscaping, and Penelope's with me as well. We've actually met all of the requirements per the shade trees. And we do actually have a hedge, silver buttonwood, native tree, very drought tolerant, along the fence and property line. We could beef up the height. I'm not against that. Our biggest concern is we do have canopy trees there as well, which are probably going to start off with a minimum clear trunk of 6 or 8 feet. So we wouldn't want to go any higher than 6 feet. And then within those canopy trees, I believe they're green buttonwoods. We also have the sable palm staggering, like Jeff said, so that we have multi layers. So we do want to facilitate screening from the ground plane all the way up as high as we can with multiple layers. And part of the reason we also have the landscaping on 2 different plans. I don't know if that might be adding a little confusion as well. One is just with trees and palms, and the other is with shrubs and hedges.
Thank you, sir. Did you get sworn in, by the way?
Yes, sir. I didn't have my camera on at the moment, but yes, sir.
Okay.
Greg, before we pass it along, Alexis, there's a lot of talk about all kinds of different trees and hedges, and I'm having trouble finding it in my packet. I found one small landscaping section, and it doesn't have any of these details in it. It just talks about the silver or the Phoenix Sylvester palms, basically. And there's a lot of other things Mr. Mills said that sound very reasonable and make a lot of sense. I couldn't find them though. Did I miss something?
I know that in regards to the Phoenix Sylvester palm, there is a small paragraph in the staff report that touches on that. The site plan or the landscape plan should be in attachment B, the site plan package. I'm going to open it up and just make sure that it's there. There was a lot of documents, so it might have been buried in. Let's see. I might be able to share my screen.
Brock, do you have the tree and palm plan, or do you have a different one in front of you?
If I can add, it's on page 42 of the PDF backup document.
And Brock, your mic is muted.
Yeah, I'll have to look in the PDF, which I'm gonna have to find. So it wasn't in my printed documents. I didn't see it. So let me try and find the PDF. I'll take a look. Why don't we move along and then I'll look at this and maybe we can, Alexis and I can take a look at it and maybe we can roll back around to it after.
Brock, it might not have been in the PDF package the first sent out. So did you get the package from the city?
There, right? Right, Anthony? You said
Anthony did say he got it, but yes.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna try to find it.
Okay.
I think if you want, I might be able to bring it up. If you wanted, do you want to circle back, or I could try and bring it up now?
Can we look at it real quick if you can pull it up?
Let's see.
Yeah, that sounds good. I mean, if other people want to have a more in-depth discussion about this, for sure.
Can you see it?
Can you make it as big as you can? I don't know if you can. Okay, I can stretch it out. You can stretch it out here.
There we go. That helps.
Yep.
So Brock, if you didn't have this plan in front of you, maybe because there are two, it is a little bit confusing. There's a shrub and understory plan, which is probably the one that you were referencing. This is the other plan, which covers the trees and the palms.
Let me go to the shrub one, I think is on the next page.
Actually, Alexis, can you stay on there? And could the landscape architect please go through the species of trees that are along the rights of way? Because I think the concern was related to shade trees on the public right of way.
Yes, so actually the streets or the trees directly against the street that are actually in the little V curb cuts that are coming out, those are all cathedral oaks, which will definitely become large and become great shade trees. We didn't want those too close to the building to eventually have any interference. And then the other trees that are actually on the opposite side of the sidewalk all along would be the gumbo limbo trees, which are native and drought tolerant and make a very strong statement. But at the same time, it's actually during more of the winter months, so they're not as need of shade, but they do defoliate for a portion of the year.
Yes, it is.
So if that is a concern, we can always look at changing that out to a different species. But again, we really like the look and we were definitely going for a very native look and feel for the property.
Which is great. And I did not see this. So a little clarification, these are street parking spots we're looking at in between the oaks. Is that the idea there?
Yes, sir.
And are they exist right now, or that's part of the development plan, is that parking would be put in there?
That
I
I'm not sure.
believe, and William can confirm, I believe that will be part of the right-of-way improvement to install them, and there will be a total of 12 on-street parking spaces.
Sure, some people on the board might think this is a bit silly, but when you're popping in 120 parking spaces for the public, to me, it would be a bigger priority to make that a larger sidewalk and put, oaks along there and have it be a little more natural. People complain so much about parking in Lake Worth Beach, but I don't think this one property has the responsibility of creating a ton of parking when it's putting in a parking garage, right? With parking for its own tenants as well as the public. Anyway, it's just a thought.
Brock, that could be visitor spaces and your parking spaces and what have you too?
Well, 120 public spaces, you can mark 20 of them off for visitors and have the others be pay for use if you want. There's a lot you can do with that. And it's a real
So-
missed
so I-
opportunity, street side parking like this. It's just I know we do it a lot in the city, but
So we're actually not allowed as part of our agreement to park our visitors within those spaces. But one of the things to also consider is the commercial the commercial space down there as well. We're going to have to provide some parking for them. And not only that, but I like parking on this street. If you've walked up and down this street anytime recent, I mean, there's tumbleweeds going in the middle of the street. There's nothing going on. And we want people moving around. That activity, as crazy as it sounds, just having, people pulling up in their cars and parking there, it's going to create some activity. I think it'll make people feel much safer than it currently sits. That was one of the reasons.
Thank you, Joe. Brock, can we move it on down to the next board member? Brock? Okay.
yeah.
Anthony,
Yes, thank you,
you're
Mr.
up.
Chair.
Thank you, sir.
A couple items. I'll just start with the design. I like the design. I thought it looks great. Definitely going to activate the street. I went over the landscape one pretty extensively. I thought it was a great use and great mix of trees. I'm glad our landscape architect did touch on the oak trees. What do you have them listed as? Cathedral oak trees. So I think it's a great design. So I'll start with the applicant question, then I have two for staff, and then I'll turn it over. On the sustainable bonus incentive program, two items on there, just like a little bit more information on. One is $20,000 for public art, and then the other is $75,000 on pedestrian plaza. Can you just give us a quick little rundown of what those two items are like?
Yes. So I think as part of our process to meet those requirements, we need to estimate the amount of money that we are going to be spending on those various items. And so a lot of that was just with our plan and our general contractor Moss, those were the dollar amounts that we provided for and their estimates at this point, obviously, but for those areas on how much money would go into those areas.
Understood, but what is the public art? Like, is it going to be a display somewhere along the walkway? Is it going to be at one end of it? And then the pedestrian plaza, and I don't know if those two items were in the design, and perhaps I missed them.
Sure. So the pedestrian plaza is on the corner there next to the commercial space.
Okay.
And then the public art, we actually, we want to do stuff as crazy as it sounds, as much incorporating some of the elements that you see, like such as the banner, or not the banner, but the mural, sorry, that we have on the side of the building. We may end up hiring a local artist or something to do that. We actually on the mid are currently looking at commissioning a local artist to do some interior artwork for us as well. So while we haven't identified the exact areas and what we're going to be doing in each of these areas, this is what we allotted right now for these spaces. We may determine that it's more appropriate to do them in the pedestrian plazas and do more sculptures and things like that, or we may decide that it's more appropriate to do that with muraling and painting, on one of the structures.
Okay, thank you. And then my next two questions are for city staff. Earlier, it was mentioned that there's a lease agreement. I think it was mentioned it's being finalized. Are you guys able to elaborate on what the cost is to the city and also what the term? William had mentioned earlier how it's going to be set up, that it will be the parking kiosks. I know Del Rey has that all set up. They don't have ticket takers or anything like that. So I understand that part. But do we know what the agreement is, how long and how much?
There are various components of it. William Waters, Community Sustainability Director. We're working out the last pieces of the lease agreement. It does provide the option for the city to have those spaces for up to 30 years with an option to continue past that. There is an upfront lease payment of a fixed amount to get the lease started, and then a very aggressive price for the city for, I think, the first 10 or 9 years, and then it goes up a little bit more for the next 20 years. The amounts were provided to you in your LOI, which is part of your backup. There's a letter of intent that explains what those dollar amounts are. The cash of the first payment, which is due at the temporary certificate of occupancy, is a little over $2 million. And then the rental rates for the spaces, I believe, for the first year are, I'm probably gonna get this wrong, $120 a space. Maybe Jeff can pull it up quickly. I don't have it.
Yeah, so it's $72,000 a year for years 2 through 8, and then it goes to $144,000 a year from years 9 through 35. So,
Okay, thank you very much for that. And then the last one, and William, maybe this one's best for you, in terms of the transfer of development rights, which gave it the extra 20.359 units. Do you know specifically what properties those transferred from, or when they get transferred in, do they just become a big pot?
Okay, you all approved this 2 years ago. We
Yes,
have created a pot of rights borrowed from city-owned properties. And there's about 1 million square feet in that pot right now. So they'll come from that.
Understood, but that's what it is. It's a pot, right? We don't know which one of those properties it came, like you guys don't delineate it that way. It just goes in a pot and then they come. All right, that's what I wanted to know. I'm done. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Morado. Mr. Glazer?
Guys,
Folks, from the hills of West Virginia, here he is, Mike Glazer.
Okay. I love what they're doing. I think it's a great project for the city. My only question is on parking. It was hard for me to take a look at all the parking because it was so small. The handicap parking. How many handicap parking spaces are there in the parking garage? Jeff, can you answer that for me?
I believe there are 2 or 4 per floor, Mr. Glazer. It does exceed the code requirement under the building code.
Okay. Okay.
Maybe 4 to 6.
No, there's.
That could include just 30-minute parking.
I'm actually handicapped from the military, so that's one thing I like to look at is where and so is Greg Rice. So
Hi, this is Beatrice, the architect. I believe in the parking table, we provided a breakdown between what was provided for standard and ADA spaces. We are meeting what's required by code. I believe, I'm not sure we're over parking with respect to ADA, but the table does reflect what's provided. If you can't read it in the plan.
And I'm sure you did because it's code and it's not something fudge on, but I was just curious. Color me curious. I like everything, and I think Jeff and your team are already kind of proven, and I think this is a great project for the city of Lake Worth Beach. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Glazer. Any questions for staff, Mike? I guess not. Okay. Mark, you want to go before I go?
How soon is this tonight, or
Mark?
when would you start? Hello?
Hello, Mark. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes. You want
You
to
may
take a bite of the
a
apple?
little louder, Mr. Hum.
Okay. How soon would you be starting this project if it gets approved?
Great question. So, I'll take off my optimistic developer hat. But we're obviously trying to get into the ground before the end of the year would be our preference. But I think it's likely that we'll be looking at first quarter of next year.
Okay. And is it going to be the same type of construction as you're doing the mid?
Very different, actually. So the mid is a tunnel form structure. It's 3 stories, no elevator, surface park. This particular project, being 7 stories, is going to be an entirely different structure. It's going to be a lolly column with obviously elevators and everything like that. And then our garage will be precast. So our garage will actually go up pretty quickly. But very different construction methodologies that we're using between the 2 projects. So.
Okay. What kind of rent would you get for a 1-bedroom and a 2-bedroom?
Yeah, so our 1-bedrooms are you know, anywhere from you know, $1,200 to $1,300 a month, and then our 2s are about $1,400 to $1,500 a month.
Okay. I like the way the building looks. It's be nice to have it here. You're doing a good job up at the mid, and you know, I hope it goes through.
Thank you.
Is that all, Mark?
I'm done.
Okay, thank you. Jeff, you mentioned the everybody's talking about parking. Well, each of your tenants get 1 space per unit, or have you got that worked out yet? The reason I'm asking is I live downtown as well, but I live in the Lucerne. We're a condo. We're different. There's 80 residential units in that in the Lucerne, and 3 right now commercial spaces. Everybody meaning people that bought initially from the developer, they got 1 parking space, whether you had a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, or 3-bedroom. You had the option to purchase additional parking spaces at the time until there was none left available. And so it is true, everybody seems to be very car dependent in South Florida, even though half the people that live here now have moved from areas that rely heavily on public transportation. So, but I bought an extra parking spot, and so is that how you're going to dole them out, or do you know yet?
Yeah. So everybody will get a parking space. Every unit will have a parking space, and then we will give on a first come first served basis for the second space. You know, give tenants the right to get a second space. Just first come first served. So,
would that additional space from the tenant, would that be an extra rent feature increase?
In some of our other projects, we have done it that way. I don't know that we've decided on this one whether or not we're going to ask for additional cost for that extra space, but it's possible.
Yeah, I'm sure that even though Mr. Glazer was the handicap champion, I'm sure the garage will also have an elevator, correct?
Correct. Absolutely.
I read in the backup, in the event that one day we do get a train station stop behind your building or whatever, you've made plans for that as far as your residents being able to, I don't know if the train, if the station would be on the east side or west side of the tracks. And I don't know that you know, but have you discussed that in any way?
Yeah. Actually, you know, we have some friends, you know, at the Brightline that we've been talking with since we started pursuing this site. I think it's quite possible the Brightline will head in a more commuter direction rather than focusing just on Miami to Orlando. And obviously we want to encourage them to take a very hard look at this site as being a potential stop. We want it to happen on the east side. I think it makes the most sense. It's more pedestrian friendly. We've already been able to incentivize them by having some public parking, which is one of the key features that they look for. So absolutely, and we've been told that there have been made aware of this site and have been made aware of this project, and and should that time come, trust me, we will be all over them.
And I hope you will. Yeah, I'm also very pleased with what you guys sent over to and work with the city to work out so far. I love this, the designer style of the residential building. I'd like to see, I didn't see, maybe I missed it, what the outside of the parking deck is going to look like. Not that it's going to be that much visible by the main thoroughfare traffic on Lake Avenue, but I'm interested to see what that might be or look like. I thought the landscape plan was good. The Sylvester palms. You see them in Florida landscapes, and you know, palms aren't known for their shade aspects, but they're still part of the tree palette that a lot of developers like to use. I have no problems with that. I'm sure that the virus that shut the whole world down will have an impact on the investment market or finance market, but we hope that goes away as quick as it seems like new housing sales are up, so maybe they'll be warming up hopefully soon to get back in the game. I don't have any other questions for you guys. Does anybody else on the board have a final question? Okay, Brock, go ahead.
I think Danny hasn't.
Danny hasn't gone yet, right? I would defer until after Danny, right?
I saw your hand first, but Danny, were you first?
Thanks, Greg. You did not give me the opportunity to share. I will not.
Oh, you didn't get it? I'm sorry.
I did have a couple questions. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I did have a couple questions initially that have all been answered. Again, the trees are great. The parking is a huge plus, something that the city really needs, and that's great to be able to incorporate that so close to the downtown there. I like the design, the layout. The increase in density is great. I think it's on point. I think you guys are listening, and great job with the city and with the team to work together to really come up with something that is pretty much spot on with what we've been trying to attract. So thank you guys.
I agree.
Okay, Brock. I'm sorry.
I was just curious about this whole idea of, you know, you kind of brought up, Jeff, that they would be rentals, but that people might have the option to buy. I'm just curious about your thinking as to why you're opting for rentals as opposed to condos in the first place, and a little bit about kind of how that came to be.
Sure. Yeah. So I was actually referencing the commercial space. Yeah. So no, there'll be rentals. That's all we do. Okay. You know, we're just not. Yeah, we're not condo guys. There are condo guys out there.
Yeah, that's totally reasonable. I didn't quite catch that, so I just wanted a little clarification on that.
Yep. And Jeffrey, the commercial space, what's that? 3,500 square feet. Is that right?
Yeah, approximately, just a little bit less. Yes.
So you could have 2 users, possibly smaller users, or
absolutely,
or one nice sized restaurant.
Yep, absolutely, and you know, and it's a you know, not double height, but it's a pretty tall building, so there's a potential for a mezzanine floor in there as well. Yeah, we want to get the right user in there that's going to be a good asset to the building in the downtown area, you know, provide vitality. It has to be a draw, because right now there isn't a tremendous amount right within that immediate block. And, you know, it'll help kind of pull people down East Coast too, and help encourage a lot of repurposing, hopefully, in some of those buildings down there.
I'm sure you've met with Dave Matthews and spent a little time at his little place down the street. At least I hope you have.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. I think that'll be our new meeting spot. You know?
It should be. It should be. Okay.
Jeff, if I could, one other thing I've been wondering about, I don't mean to interrupt, but I wasn't quite finished. So with regard to the rental and condo idea, so do you guys actually handle the renting after the development is done, or do you turn it over to someone else and then they own the building and they handle the rentals, or do you guys kind of handle the whole process from birth of the project through ownership through renting out the properties?
So that's a good question. So we hold on to our assets, so we'll own it. But we hire a third party management company that will actually do all the leasing and management of the building. So that is not something that we do in house. We work with Castle Residential. They're based here in South Florida, and they handle all that. And then, of course, we oversee them. So we make sure that everything from our branding to, leasing and everything is handled appropriately.
I had a couple more questions.
Okay, go ahead, Laura.
How many completed projects do you have?
That's a good question. Well over 1,000 units.
Completed projects,
Yeah, completed.
not
So
units.
we've got 5.
Five
we're
that are
getting ready
completed?
Correct.
Where are those? Where are those?
So a couple of them are up in the Midwest. One is in Miami. One actually here in Fort Lauderdale. We're wrapping up here in June, called the 613. That project, Mawson Associates is our general contractor, and then the one up the street, the Mid, there on Dixie is about 25% complete at the moment. We're currently under construction on that one.
So these 5 projects that you're talking about, those are all part of affiliated development?
Correct. Well, so they're not owned by affiliated. Our affiliated development doesn't own anything actually. They're owned by partnerships that we control.
So each property has a different name, you mean? Each property's in the name of a different LLC? Is that what you're saying?
That's correct. Yeah, we don't. There isn't one a project that we've done that's owned by the same company. It's a requirement from our lenders and everybody. They have to be single asset entities.
So who is the company above all of them, above all the LLCs?
Some of them are partnerships. We have partners on a lot of our projects because, for instance, our deal in Fort Lauderdale is a qualified opportunity zone deal. So we took on a number of partners that were looking to place capital gains on that particular one. So every deal we have is a partnership with other entities and individuals. But these are all projects that we developed.
Anything else, Laura?
What is a pool court? Pool court? I saw a reference to some kind of court.
Bring up the site plan. Let's see.
I saw 2 different ones. I saw, pedestrian court, you mean just like a courtyard?
Right, and then I believe the pool court is the deck area around the pool, and then to the south of it is an open. It's labeled as an open lawn. Let me see if I can find that for you guys.
It does say pool court. You're right. I'm not entirely sure. I mean, it's a pool.
This is, sorry, can I just say something? This is Rebecca Zissel from Sachs Kaplan. There's a condition of approval on there that if William has a comment on it, that says that will be relabeled to open lawn.
Yeah, so there's an open lawn area here, as you can see, and I think there might be a little confusion because on the following site plan, that same open lawn area is labeled as a pool court. The pool court, if I can scroll back up to the first site plan, the pool court is labeled as the area that's around the pool, so it looks like it's the pool deck. And then to the south of that, which was previously labeled as a pool court, is now an open lawn.
That's correct.
Is that where the dog walk might be located?
The dog park is labeled between the parking garage and the residential building.
Okay.
I'm not sure if you can see my cursor, but yeah, it's like right in the middle right there.
So, so Greg, so if you remember on the Mid, we did right in the middle there, we did a big game lawn. and
Right.
just open green space. And given how, kind of narrow and long this site was, we thought it was a good opportunity to allow some green space for people to go out and either read a book or throw a Frisbee or whatever.
Give something for the chinch bugs to go after. Laura, anything else?
Yeah, there were two other things, mechanical surveillance and natural surveillance. What are those? Yeah, cameras and a person?
I believe, so the details of that is in the SEPTED plan and attachment C, I believe. And I think, and Jeff, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the natural surveillance was pertaining to the amount of glazing on the buildings. So it puts eyes on the street. So that's the natural surveillance. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, Beatrice.
BZ, I'm sorry, BZ, the architect?
Yes, sir. So natural surveillance pretty much talks about, by virtue this building itself having residential facing and around the street. And there's going to be a natural surveillance of the residents of the neighborhood. So yeah, eyes on the street is sort of the term that's used. Can you hear me?
Yes, I heard you.
Okay. And then the other type of surveillance are the CCTVs that we use at key entries of the buildings, at elevator lobbies, at front doors, where there'll be key card access and probably video surveillance that will be recorded for additional safety.
And the parking garage will have the same video surveillance?
That's correct.
And it'll be recorded and kept?
And kept, recorded and kept, yes.
By your company, not the city?
I'm not sure what the details are with respect to the city versus the balance of the garage. I would imagine both of us, we would be recording both.
Anything else, Laura?
I think that's it.
Beatrice, I hope you can find a parking spot next time you come to Lake Worth, if that's what you're doing. If you're riding around looking for a spot.
I'll take the train.
Look like Jerry Steinfeld. Comedians in cars or whatever. But you've done a great job designing the exterior of this building.
Thank you. We had a fun time doing it.
It shows. Anybody else? Any other board members have questions, comments? Now's your chance to speak up or forever hold your peace. And I figured Brock would always have one more. Go ahead, Brock.
I wanted to follow up on what Laura asked, which is, Laura asks really good questions, right? And you walk away thinking, wait a minute, why does a development company with two properties they've developed in the Midwest, one in Miami and one in Fort Lauderdale, all of a sudden start developing these large properties in Lake Worth Beach? It's sort of, I'm not saying I don't like the city. I live here. I love the city. I'm just kind of like a bit baffled as to how this comes about. It was described in the presentation as we took a Brightline ride and saw an open lot. And I just thought, okay, maybe, but maybe a little bit more, Jeff, than this would be helpful.
Yeah. So Brock, it's a question that comes up a lot. Why are you guys doing the Lake Worth Beach, and how did you end up there? Our company, we focus primarily on what we call as underserved areas, and we're willing to take a little bit more risk than the average developer and going into areas that may not have a tremendous amount of existing product at the same type of product that we do. And so, to my point earlier about comps, there's a lot of companies and a lot of the bigger corporations certainly have the strategy of, once it's a proven market, we'll go in there, we'll build our product, and we'll move on. We like to seek out areas that we believe are in the natural progression of growth and that can experience that growth and that are underserved currently. Lake Worth Beach in our mind is very underserved. we believe that there should be a lot more product like this there, and that's why we're doing it.
I couldn't agree with you more, but how did you don't live in Lake Worth Beach. How did you even find out about the city and the opportunity to develop property here in the first place? Before the mid?
Right, yeah. So actually my partner, Nick, he right here. So Nick actually lives about 5 minutes up the road. So it depends what project, right? So yeah, so from the mid, he lives right up the street. So Nick grew up in the area. He's very familiar with the area. And then listen, it's our job to know these things. We have to know the markets we're doing business in. You know, and although we're down in Fort Lauderdale, we spend a tremendous amount of time up in the Palm Beach area and doing our best to educate ourselves on opportunities that we might think you know, are present. And that's, and not to mention the city of Lake Worth Beach has tremendous people that have been really great to work with. There are certain cities that have high barriers to entry. They put you through the ringer. It's very bureaucratic. And I can say that we have a very good relationship with the city, that city staff and the elected officials. And that gives us a great deal of confidence. You know, what we're doing is already risky enough. And when we all work together, it makes us much more confident about what we're doing.
So Jeff, you really do have a silent partner.
Right, exactly.
I'll let him do the talk.
How long have the two of you worked for Affiliated or with Affiliated, or how long has it been in existence?
Sure. So actually Affiliated, we rebranded it. So Burns and Company was my father's company. It started in 1982.
What was the name of it?
We operated under Burns and Company up in the Midwest for a number of years. And then when I moved down here and Nick and I got together, we decided to rebrand the company from Burns and Company to Affiliated Development. So we did that probably about 5 years ago. Yeah, about 5 years ago.
Have you eaten a lot of breakfasts at Farmer Girl yet?
We have been there. There's a few good spots up and down there that we've been hitting up. We're ready for them to open, everybody to open back up, and you know.
And so are we. Well, I'm glad you were riding the train that day and paying attention.
Yep, us too.
Anybody else?
So there was a commitment to raise the height of the hedges at the back on the train side that was mentioned. Can we get that confirmed, Jeff? As long as it fits within your landscaping plan and isn't going to be a problem for the other trees?
So long as it's in our property, I mean, our job is to hedge that as best we possibly can. What we can't do is plant hedges within the FEC right away.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you just mentioned about how Lake Worth Beach asked so little. I thought I should ask for something.
Adam, did you have something to say on that?
No issues on our end. We'll be able to give them, we'll up the height to at least 6 feet minimum upon installation. And as the canopies grow, the hedge will be able to grow as well.
Yeah, because the wall's going to be 8, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
I like that. Tall walls. Anybody else going once? Going twice? 3 times? It seems without a vote, we have a pretty positive indicator that we probably have a majority consensus on this, but we always like to.
Mr. Chair, public comment,
please.
Yes, I do have one comment.
Thank you.
And not from me. So this is from the owner of the CVS at 101 North Dixie Highway, Linda O'Connor. She said she's excited about the Bohemian projects and thinks it will add a lot to the city, but has a few suggestions. And it says one is, rather than an 8-foot wall with a mural, have a 6-foot wire fence hidden with greenery and shrubs. This will create more green space and will be environmentally sound.
Okay.
Number 2 is a plain 8-foot wall will be unattractive and divisive. perhaps a 6-foot mosaic wall, which looks like Florida, could be nice. And comment number 3 was any kind of painted mural will cheapen the project and make it look like an urban area, and it will scare tenants away. So,
Okay,
so her 3 suggestions.
thank
And
you
that's
very much.
what we have in the line of
Nobody online, you said?
no one online, nothing coming in during the hearing, and that's it.
Good, thank you. Thank you, Brock, for reminding me. It's always good. It's always good to get input from the public. Okay, that being said, would anybody like to take a stab at a motion?
I will. I
Thank
move
you.
to recommend approval of PZB project number 20-009-00001 with staff recommended conditions for a development of significant impact, mixed-use urban plan development, major site plan, conditional use permit, sustainable bonus program incentive, and a transfer of development rights incentive to construct a transit-oriented mixed-use multifamily development at the subject site. Project meets the applicable criteria based on the data analysis in the staff report.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I just clarify, Mr. Chair, that was approval with conditions, correct?
Anthony?
It is approval with conditions. I'm just looking for the wording, but yes, with conditions.
Okay.
With, yes, the first line with recommended conditions.
We
All
have
right,
a, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
I would second that motion.
Mark, I think Mark was first, but okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, I believe Mark was first on the second.
Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah.
I did it. Second.
Okay.
Okay, any other comments? Before we call to the vote? Okay, we have a motion and a second. I'm gonna call the vote. All those in favor, do we need to take a roll call vote, Sherry?
It'd be best, please.
Or,
I
okay, wait.
think that's the only way it's probably going to work. So,
Okay, okay,
start at the top. I'm just going to write Greg,
yes, vote to approve.
Anthony,
Yes.
Daniel,
Yes.
Brock,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
and Michael.
Yes.
Yeah,
We have a majority.
unanimous.
We have a majority. Well, thank you.
This will be
Thank you,
going
board
to City
members.
Commission on June 9th and then again on June 30th.
Good. Any other comments or anything from staff that we need to know about?
That is all.
Thank you very much. Alexis, you did a great job tonight.
Thank you.
Great job, everybody.
You're gonna go a long way in this business, Alexis.
Aw, thank you.
Of course, when you do, we end up losing you, so
Oh, no.
maybe I shouldn't be so gracious with my flowery comments. But you did a good job.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Just to the planning issue item, you will be busy for the rest of the summer. We have probably, I think, 6 or 7 projects coming to you all over the next few months. So this is the beginning and you'll be busy. So get ready.
Love it.
A long ride.
Thanks, Wes.
Put them all together in one night.
We like that. So our next meeting is the regular first Wednesday of the month,
No, it'll be the 3rd Wednesday of the month.
third Wednesday of the month.
June
Okay.
17th.
It's also anticipated that we will be going back to a semi-live meeting in July. And we'll keep you abreast of that.
Question being, what does semi-live mean?
You may have to be, a quorum may have to be present in person, and we may have the rest of the meeting run from Zoom. But we'll keep it. I mean, we've gotten some indication from the governor's office that the live quorum requirement will be going back into effect in July.
Perfect.
And including public?
Well, that's what we're going to be working through. We will maybe do a modified meeting, very much like what the City Commission did back in March. There's a limited capacity to the City Commission chambers, everybody separated, or we may work out some system of the public participating remotely. We will let you know.
Why recording?
Good. Jeff, Nick, and group, thank you very much for coming to Lake Worth, and we really look forward to big things happening west of Dixie.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, with that being said, I would like to call this meeting adjourned, and I'm looking for the time. And it is now 8:02 p.m. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, everybody. As they would say on the Donnie Brown, Pam, smile. You're home already. How do I turn this thing off? Leave.
All right, we gotta shut it off.